15 years, the damage that load shedding has brought to this economy has been incalculable.
The death toll from the recent floods in the South African province of KwaZulu-Natal has risen to 49.
After a fairly subdued night, the Knysna fires have begun to grow again.
We begin tonight with a nation already on edge in the coronavirus pandemic as protests turn violent.
London's burning and no one seems able to bring it under control.
You're listening to Off-Grid Survival, South Africa's first prepper podcast.
And we are your hosts, Brett and Ben.
Morning, Ben. How are you doing?
Good morning, Brett. I'm doing very well, thanks.
So this is a bit of a milestone for us. We're on episode 20 this week. And we're back in 2025. This is our second episode for the year. As you can hear, I've still got a bit of a chest cold of the husky voice. But we're going to soldier on through that. And we've got a special guest with us today.
The rain?
Apart from the rain.
Oh, nice.
Sitting with us is Kirsty from Sedgefield Animal Matters. And she's come to speak to us with regard to pets and prepping. Mainly because of what's happening, as a reminder to us, with the California fires at the moment. Everybody's seen on the news those massive fires in the Palisades in LA and the absolute destruction that there is. And I'm sure for a lot of people, especially here on the garden route, it brings back memories of the 2017 fires.
I've also noticed a lot of the stories of people who saved their pets or let their pets go.
Yeah. So I thought I'd reached out to Kirsty. I asked if she would be happy to join us. And Kirsty, welcome.
Hi guys. How are you? I think it's going to be quite a contentious topic because people view pets in different ways. So yeah, could be quite interesting.
Yeah, so who is Kirsty?
So guys, I've lived in Sedgefield for 20 years. So yes, I was here for the Knysna fires and started Sedgefield Animal Matters funny enough, in 2016, just before the fires.
Just before the fires, yeah.
So we were not even a year old when the 2017 fires hit. And boy, when it hit, we learned so many lessons from that fire. It was, I think it's something, with the LA fires, it just took me straight back then. And in a bad way, but also in a good way. Just, it showed me how much Sam has grown from 3 people. Yes, there were 3 people at the time. We did not even have a charity shop when the fires hit. At that stage, my husband's business became the donation point. And we had like 2 tons of food. We had nowhere to store it. But yes, one thing that I think both the LA fires and the Knysna fires showed us is that we are not prepared properly for when the fires hit or when an event hits with our pets. And there's just a few simple things we can do to make our lives easier.
Oh, great. So you mentioned you started Sedgefield Animal Matters. So SAM's, I understand, is a local volunteer charity?
100%. We're volunteer-based. We only pay 1 salary now, and that is to our outreach manager. But our core focus is spays and neuters. We try and spay. On average, we're doing 60 animals a month, but some months we do 90. This year we want to try and get it up to 75 animals a month. And, guys, it's so important. Spaying and neutering is the cornerstone of any rescue organization. We want to try and prevent puppies or kittens being born into poverty.
Okay.
And we do our spays and neuters for free. But what we've decided for 2025 is, we want people to start taking some form of responsibility. So we may just be asking for R5, but it's R5. You need to take some form of responsibility for your pet, no matter your class.
It's like most things. If it doesn't cost you anything, it doesn't have a value.
Exactly. And we view pets as our family. So there's no question that in terms of, I'm going to talk about myself from a personal level, but I can tell you that if you've got an NPO or a charity organization, your pets are your family. your children.
Yes.
And I would never leave my house without my child. Okay, my child is much older now, but my 5 fur kids will come with me. And yes, I'm transgressing on a few things. I've got 5 pets, but they are all well looked after.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a limit on how many pets you had.
Yes, there is, but we won't go there.
Yeah, different areas have different bylaws. Yes. Cape Town is different to different regions of the garden route, and I'm sure Gauteng and KZN have got their own rules depending on where you are. We're also rural and suburbs as a different thing.
Oh, that can be a debate for another day.
Yeah, very much so.
There in Sedgefield alone, that could be a debate for another day.
Now, how is SAM's different from like Cause and that type of thing?
Okay, we are slightly different in the sense that we don't have holding kennels. Cause has kennels, SAM's doesn't. So we believe that a dog is better off in a foster home. We have foster pools. And if anyone is listening and would like to foster, please get in contact with these gentlemen. They will give you my number. We are always looking for fosters.
Do you not have a website? Or?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And you are at Sedgefield Animal Matters. If you Google it, it'll pop up with all our details. But we believe that animals are better off in a foster pool. I mean, us as human beings, you don't get our true nature if we are locked in a cell or in a cage. But if this animal is put in a foster pool and is shown love and attention, you start seeing the true nature of the dog. So when you adopt that animal, you sing a true nature. You're not seeing a cat or dog that's been confined into a kennel who goes for a walk. I'm not saying what Cause does is wrong. We just have got a different ethos of how we do things. Plus, the pressure is off you when you don't have kennels. That's another debate altogether there.
Never mind the
pro-euthanasia, is it pro-life? Do we, how do you run it? We don't have that worry. Okay. So we're a small but personal charity. So I could tell you about any of our dogs that have been into foster, and their nature is different. Whereas, unfortunately, when you've got kennels, you have to start running it like a business. And if SAM's going to be a business, and I say this all the time, I'm out. Yes, we still run it as a business, but we don't have to run it as a euthanasia business. We don't have to say, okay, our kennels are now at full capacity. We're still getting this influx coming in. What do we do? My heart goes out to all those shelters at the moment in LA that are going to have to be faced with decisions like that. I couldn't. I really, really couldn't.
Yeah, I saw a few people talking about the fact that a lot of people just let their pets go. They've got horses, it's a wealthy area, so the guys have fancy pets, expensive pets.
And how are they going to survive?
And then some people were walking down the highway with their horses, trying to get them out of the area.
Yes.
And it's heartbreaking. I mean, whether you like animals in your own life to have as a pet or not, to see that type of stress on anybody, animal or human, is tremendous, and it's lasting. It's a lasting effect.
Well, look at Cody, the horse in the Knysna fires. If you remember, so there was a lady who had horses, but the fire, and that's the other thing. We talk about. I see it a lot on social media. Why didn't they evacuate when the evacuation order came? Sometimes that fire comes quicker than you can ever anticipate. Remember, they said it on social media, and they've said it on CNN. I'm going to quote CNN, where they said it was the perfect storm.
Yes.
As was the Knysna fires. It was drought. It was high winds. It was the perfect storm. And we had ambers, the ambers in the air, and that's how the fire got so out of control. In the Knysna fires, it crossed the White Bridge. No one thought that would ever happen because of the high winds and the perfect storm. And she had no choice, but she had to let her horses go. She was heartbroken.
Yeah.
And obviously, our fires, I think, lasted for 4 or 5 days. I was there, but I can't quite remember the timeline. And Cody emerged back from the fires, very badly burnt, but he survived. And it was, she said, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
How, where do you, and she was heartbroken. If she had the time, she would have evacuated with all her horses. If memory serves me correct, I think 1 or 2 did pass, but she was there for each and every one of them. She mourned them. It was a horrible situation to be faced with. And how do you, I can't even tell you how. I think we can prepare better. But for horses, that's also another thing. I'm not an expert on horses. So how do you prepare for horses?
Well, I think letting them have a chance is better than keeping them in the barn or keeping them in a paddock and not letting them go. You give them a chance.
Absolutely. So, it was a discussion we were having at home now with the fires. My husband and I were just talking about sometimes we need to listen to our pets and remember they've got survival instincts that we don't have. So all of a sudden you have a cat that's an outside cat who's, my one cat, and I'll mention Rigby. Rigby is more of an outside cat to try and get that cat. He is always sleeping under a bush, and he is my biggest worry in a fire. I am pretty prepared, but he's the one that does worry me. And when he's all of a sudden inside the house, we're like, hang on, what is going on here? Why?
Yeah.
Why? Riggs, for instance, I'm going to use last night as an example. He's very chilled. He'll come in and he eats and he lives the best life he could possibly live as a cat. But last night he came in at about 8 o'clock and he slept the entire night at the bottom of the couch. But look at the rain. Yeah. He knew it was going to rain before it even started raining.
Yes.
So he was ready. That cat is never wet. So his instincts kicked in. He knew. Okay. And I know that's not a disaster, but I know, and when it's fireworks time, okay, I live in the village, so I'm very lucky that we don't have that problem. But we have had the 1 or 2 incidences where there's been fireworks. That cat was in before those fireworks even went off. It was as if he knew, okay, things are not right here. I think I'm going to rather come to my safe haven.
Okay. Nice.
So that's where survival instincts become pertinent.
Yes.
We've got to give them that chance.
So you mentioned that you're pretty prepared when it comes to your animals in regards to an emergency. What kind of advice can you give to people that haven't lived through an experience like the Knysna fires? How can they prepare themselves and their pets? Whether it's fire, flood, we've even had, it wasn't a severe earthquake, but we had a 5-point-something earthquake the other day up in the Northern Cape. These things happen, and if you have to evacuate your house or even your town, God forbid, what would you recommend from your experience?
So the first thing when you come and visit me, we are obviously a pet house. You must expect that you're going to get fur all over you. But as you walk in my front door, on the left-hand side on the wall are hooks, and there are leads and collars on those hooks. Yes, it's convenient when I take my dogs for a walk because everything's there. But let's say I've got 30 seconds to get my animals out. Their collars and their leads are ready to go. I can literally grab and go. What I would also advise people is, where my challenge would come in would be with Rigby. He's a cat, guys, but my other 2 would be okay on collars and leads because as kittens, I got them prepared. They think that a harness and a lead or a collar and a lead is normal for them. So from kitten, I taught them that it is normal to have that collar and that lead. Rigby not so much because we got him as a rescue. All my cats, by the way, all my animals are rescues, but the younger you can teach them, the better. Obviously, my other 2 I had from very young. So have your carriers, your pet carriers. They don't have to be in your house. They can be in your garage, but where they are accessible and you know where they are at all times. So one person can grab the cat carriers, the next person can grab the pets to put them in the carriers, and you can go. Your dog's collars and leads, hooked, ready to go, and you can get in your car and go. Food, my pet food, is in clip containers that are easy to carry, and I feed them big bags of food, but I decant them into these clip containers. So if I need to go at a heartbeat, I can at least grab the clip container for the dog, grab the clip container for the cats, and go. So at least I've got something to feed them for a while.
Yeah, because in prepping circles, when it comes to evacuation, we talk about the 5-minute window, the 30-minute window, and then the hour-plus window. And in a fire evacuation, you might have even less than 5 minutes. So you've got a very short amount of time to grab and go. And that's where having a bug-out bag and that, your EDCs and that sort of thing comes into play. So do you have a bug-out kit for your pets?
Okay, so funny enough, I don't. But in my boot, at all times, is a first aid kit for pets.
Okay.
Purely because of Sam. I mean, I'm a pain. I have been late for work numerous times because I've said, hey guys, sorry, there was a dog that was on the side of the road. I put it in my car. My lift club is so used to it now that, and in there is bandages, a bit of gingival, just to clean up a wound if need be. I've even got a towel that I can wrap the pet in, should it have a broken bone or something, so that I can get it to the nearest vet, etc. So I would definitely advise people. I've also got a bowl in my car and a bottled water in my car. Yeah. Tap water, and I replace that tap water sort of every 4 or 5 days. It's in my boot, so it's not like it's going to get hot, but it's there. And I also have a little packet of dog pellets, but really good quality dog pellets, because dogs, when they are running, they are scared. They need a really high smelling pellet that's going to attract them to the bowl, and maybe sort of, how do I put it, overrule the adrenaline as they're running, which does help.
So not bully beef.
Not bully beef. Although bully beef is a good thing, yes, that could also work.
I mean, I could at least share with my pet.
But there is definitely in my boot a little box with everything in it, so that if I see something on the side of the road, I've got it. But if I need to evacuate, it's there already.
No, that's very
and anyone could do that. I've even got a first aid bag in my boot for human beings as well. And we should all actually do that. We should all be compassionate enough that, should there be an accident and we've got this first aid bag in our boots, we can help each other. We should all be prepared for that.
Yeah, definitely.
So now I've had dogs when I was younger, and we've had cats and hamsters and whatever else. Now hamsters are easy because you know where they are.
Yes.
But the dogs, if you had to, when we wanted to wash them, it would be like half an hour chase to try and find them. And that's in a closed yard and stuff like that. How do you train your pets to, want to be washed? Because I think that also is like a precursor to making sure that they come when we call them to get in the car, on the lead or whatever else. Because most people's pets don't listen. They're like kids. They don't listen.
So, in 2025, and I'm using 2025, even though it's how many days 12 days into 2025?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. But, for me, it's been a few years already. What people don't understand is that a pet is a huge commitment now. In the world when we were all kids, it's different. We didn't have things like climate change with fire, etc., etc. We now do this. This is a reality. I mean, in the last 10 years, we've seen the Knysna fires, we've seen the LA fires, we've seen fires. I mean, it's become Barcelona, Greece. Yeah. It's on the news all the time now. When we were kids, it was never on the news. Okay, we never really watched the news, but 9/11 impacted us when we were sort of younger. So I firmly believe, people, if you get dogs, take them for puppy training. It will make your life so much easier. There are experts, Dogs Day Out. We use her, Heather. Yes, Heather, I'm giving you a little bit of a boost here. But take your dog. She does puppy training. It's called puppy training. Okay. And just get the command training that you need. I have a dog that is command trained, and she's a rescue. And I can say, Gaia, come here. And she will come immediately to me. Gaia, sit. And she will sit. It seems like people are like, oh, shame. No. If you can get them trained on command, it is going to make your life so much easier.
And what do you say to people that's like, oh, but it's a puppy. You're being nasty to it by training it?
Okay, so, sorry, my dogs are my kids. If you don't discipline your human child, what happens? It becomes a spoiled brat. Your child becomes a spoiled brat. Am I right or wrong here? You know, it backchats in public. Yes, your child can speak. This puppy still needs a form of training, a form of discipline. So it has boundaries. It will make the puppy's life easier. It will make your life easier. And everyone knows where they stand in the hierarchy of things, because dogs see us as packs. They are descendants of wolves. You, being the male, would be the alpha. I would be the matriarch, being the mom. And they need to know this is the standing in the pack, and this is how it's done. And it is not an aggressive, let's just get something right here. Training can be done with love. It can be done with absolute love. But it can be done, and if it is done the right way, the results are just incredible. Your dog doesn't have to run through hoops and through over hurdles and through those tunnel things. Just needs to know when you command, it comes. It's for its own safety, and it is also for your own safety. As you say, you don't want to be running around chasing dogs when you're evacuating. That's time consuming, and then you may be forced to leave that dog behind, which you don't want to do because the fire is now right on your thing. And then the next minute you're seeing photos on Facebook of your dog howling with the fire behind you. Whose fault is that?
Yeah.
It's your fault for not doing the correct training. But it is, you know, it's the reality of what we are faced with in today's world.
So I've got a question. I've met your dogs. You've got smaller breeds.
Which is easier to
which is
evacuate.
easier, yeah.
Yes.
So what is your opinion on people that have larger breed dogs? And then I've seen a lot of guys, especially with Alsatian type sized dogs, training them with things like panniers, where the dog has literally got its own little backpack, and they can go walking with them, and they can carry their own food and their water.
Fantastic.
And apart from being a security dog,
So we need to understand something. As long as they are being trained by the right people and experts, I don't have a problem with that. It's like, you know, people say, oh, but I'm training my own dog. Tell me something. Do you go to a doctor without a qualification?
True.
Do you go to a nurse without a qualification? I have no problem with an Alsatian or a Malinois or a working dog being trained, because that is what their breed is.
Yes.
It's to do that kind of thing. I'd have a problem with someone training my beastie to do that, okay, which is a Dalshan, because that is not what his breed is for. But I have no problem with people doing that. It would look hysterical. I have no problem.
A box with legs.
Yeah. And literally just running. I have no problem with people training working dogs. Just go to the experts.
Yeah.
Do it the proper way.
Now, a lot of people, I think they get lonely, or they where I live, I think everybody has these little things that fit in handbags, you know, and they go walking them.
Teacup Yorkies.
Well, yeah, but I think a lot of it comes from people want human interaction but don't know how to. So they go walking with their little dog, and that's a conversation starter. So a lot of people have these little stoop jobs, you know, and the little ankle biters. How can you train that dog to be security conscious? You know, stoopies are nice because they yap, okay? But there's times where you want it to yap, and there's times where you don't want it to yap, okay?
Obedience training.
Okay, so obedience training. Because
again, the experts know exactly. I can't even answer on that because that is not my expertise,
Yes.
you know. Again, Heather, I'm giving you a shout out because she would be able. I'm going to give you an example. I had last year a senior rescue that I rescued from cause. I was there for a work-related matter, and the senior Dalshan was peering at me through the cages, and I was like, oh no. Didn't even discuss it with the boss. It just came home. And Freya was with us, unfortunately, only for 6 weeks, and she went into liver failure. But that's a chance you take when you adopt these seniors. But she definitely came from a different life, because she would go through my bins and she would just take out stuff, and she would attack my dogs for food. So which means she really was a survivor and had a really tough life. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it because she was going to kill my other dachshund, literally, in her old age, because she was surviving. And I had to. And I mean, I'm pretty knowledgeable with animals, but eventually I had to get hold of someone like Heather, who is the expert, and say, what do I do? And she made a suggestion. So I tried her suggestion, which was a spray bottle. Never thought that would work. A water spray bottle. And she said, you have to put it on, not the misty one, because that's a game, but the tough one, and spray it in her face. And I was like, oh, that's, and she said, I'm the expert. Let me tell you, within 2 days, Freya stopped all of that. So they can be trained, but Heather would probably, or your trainer would be the best. It can be done. It definitely can be done.
I suppose that's also the dog learned then that you're the
exactly the matriarch in the house, or however she wanted to put me. But yes, and no dog is not trainable. With the correct training, it can be done. Yes. Even your little teacup Yorkies that are yep, I'm sure with the right training can be done. And again, I'm going to push this puppy training.
Yeah.
Puppy training. If there's anything you can do, just do the puppy training. You yourself will learn stuff on how to handle your dog, and your puppy will learn too.
Yeah. Because, from a preparedness point of view, if you happen to need to leave, the last thing you need is a yapper that just yaps at everything out there. And it's a good idea to, if you're serious about being prepared, but also want to have a dog or a cat or something, is basically talk to somebody like you, talk to somebody like Heather, and find out which breed should you be looking for the scenario that you want. If you want a lap dog, don't get an Alsatian, because it'll break your legs.
Exactly. It's a working dog. It would be cruel to the Alsatian to do that in the first place.
Yeah, my sister's got a big dog, and he's really big for his breed, and yet he's very loud, but he always wants to be around. He always is one of these big loving things, but not when you look at him.
Yes.
He looks like he'll eat your face off.
Security. Yes. And nothing wrong with that. If he is loved and he provides security, hey, why not?
Yes.
Why not? I have a cat that thinks she's a dog that provides security. Truly. I mean, my neighbour just got a new dog, a Boston Terrier, and it's a bit of a barker. But my cat's not taking its nonsense. She runs up to that fence and she hisses at it and spits at it and whatever and says, enough. I'm not having your nonsense. So I think they all have their different natures, like you say. But your sister's dog is exercised. Yep. It's, you know what I'm saying?
It's gone through the proper training.
It's gone through the proper training. Nothing wrong with it. It knows where it stands. And in terms of evacuating, should be able to evacuate that dog with no problem at all.
Yeah. I've known a few people that have got rescue dogs, but not from cause, but more like found half-starved next to the road, or proper pavement special. These things are immune to everything.
Best dogs
and
ever.
when you love them, they are the most loyal dogs ever, because they know what it's like to be.
Yes, my Gaia.
Yeah.
My Gaia is one of those. But even though we got her, and she was about 4 when we got her, they aged her at about 4. You can never get the proper age of a rescue dog. She's trained. So it can be done. Even at a young age, there are many ways of doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I wanted to just touch on something, going back a little bit to the prepping side. If you had to design a bag, like a bug-out bag for your animals, apart from food and water, would you put like any types of medications in or anything like that?
If I did, yes. I would maybe put in rescue drops or calmies, something just to keep them calm. I wouldn't put anything else in unless obviously the vet has prescribed medication for whatever their thing is. But definitely like a calmies or rescue drops or something just to keep calm.
Toys?
Yes, always.
Blankets.
But are they really going to play? I would, obviously, blankets. You see, I didn't even think about blankets because, again, blankets are in my boots. So if there's a dog running on the road or something, like I've said, a towel or a blanket just to wrap the dog in. So if I had to evacuate, I don't even have to think about that because it's already in my boots.
Yes.
You see. So again, compassion comes into play here, because if you're compassionate, it can be convenient.
True.
It can be convenient. So yes, I know Gaia loves her ball, so maybe a ball just to keep her calm. Beast, on the other hand, couldn't care less if there wasn't a toy. Each dog has a different nature. Beast, though, would, being a Dachshund, love a blanket because then he can burrow and that's his safety. So, you've got to look at your pets because each bug-out bag would be unique to that pet.
Very unique. So, but
because of their different natures.
So medication stuff, you wouldn't carry like antibiotics or anything unless it was prescribed.
No, because you don't know what you're treating. You are not the vet.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to let someone put a pill down my throat. In fact, let me use this example. So if we're in a fire and I'm injured, please, no one give me Panado. I'm dead. I'm allergic to paracetamol. I am dead. And yes, I don't have my bracelet on because it irritates me. And yes, I should be wearing it. I totally agree there. I should actually be wearing it. But a lot of us don't.
Yeah.
So please don't treat me. Let a doctor treat me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, what doctors straight away, how do I put this in a nice way, is doctors actually don't just give you paracetamol straight away when they treat you because they don't actually know what you're allergic to.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't.
They don't straight away. So, it's things like don't just treat an animal if you don't know what you're treating, because you just never know. That animal might be allergic to cortisone. That animal might be allergic to whatever. Just take the basics, keep it calm, and calmies or rescue drops or, in fact, what I swear by is a little bit of pet cam. Pet cam it's a very mild thing. Again, it just treats the mild wounds, etc. But it is it's calming. Calmies, pet cam, that's it. That's all.
Cool.
Until you can get it to a vet if there is an injury.
And then food, would you advocate more carrying kibble and that sort of thing? Or these little pouches of wet dog food or wet pet food?
You should always have pouches in your cupboard because you don't know if it's going to be a quick evacuation. But like I said, in my case, I've already prepared that my kibbles in carry clip containers. That's easy for me to just quickly grab and put it in the boot. And
that would be like a week or two supply
that's
of food.
That's a week's food. Done. Yeah. And you're never going to be away from your house for more than a week.
Well, hopefully.
Most fires, if we look at the LA fire and the Knysna fire, it was like 2 days because the fire has got nothing to burn once it moves on. So,
but then you also don't have a house.
A house, exactly. Yeah. But you can always make a plan because by then, again, compassion comes into play, donations come through, and you'd be able to get food for your pets. But I always advocate and say, guys, please just put your food in little clip containers. That's easy to carry, and in your mind you have food for a couple of days until you can get back on your feet.
I wasn't here during the 2017 fires. I only moved up after that. But I heard stories about people in Knysna being evacuated to the school field.
Correct.
So now you've got hundreds of people on the field. Do those people have their pets with them?
Yes, they do.
So what kind of chaos? Because anybody that's been around more than 4 dogs at any one time knows how quickly fights can start and that sort of thing.
It was actually very funny. So the organisation that I work with was very pivotal to the helping of the fires. They were the ones that did a lot of the evacuation points, etc., etc. We never had that problem.
Okay.
We never had that problem. Again, I don't know if it was a survival instinct that kicked in again, where everyone, including dogs, there were cats right by dogs. I'm going to use Sedgefield because I was stuck in Knysna I got home at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I had to be escorted through, but I got home. And in the Sedgefield, and then I took when I got home, I went straight into the animal side of things because there was no one. But in the town hall, there were a couple of cats, there was 2 or 3 dogs, and it was just so peaceful. There was just no drama. And we never really had stories of there being fights or anything like that, because it was almost like I think everyone knew they were in trouble and had to just adapt quickly.
It's going to sound nasty, but how many people do you think who, obviously a person who cares about their pets and especially thinks of them as family are going to evacuate them and be in that situation and normally have trained pets that are acclimatized to being around people and pets? How many people who want dogs as security do you think ever evacuated them?
Not a lot. So I'm going to, in your affluent areas where education is a given, we had no problems. But I remember, I think it was 2 days after the fire, one of the founding members of S.A.M and myself got a call that a community just outside Sedgefield had not evacuated their animals, but the community had evacuated. So myself and this person went out there against my husband's wishes, and true as Bob, off we go. And someone was driving the other way and phoned him and said, hey, listen, your wife is on your way to this community. But yeah, I landed up in trouble. Anyway, but when we got there, no, we weren't allowed through. But yeah, he said, please don't go because your life is more important. But, I don't listen when it comes to animals. And when we got there, there were a few dogs and cats and chickens, and we loaded them up and we brought them through. Luckily, the fire never reached there. And it was a chance, like you said. In this case, I've got to say that in the poorer classes, township dogs are such survivors. I think they would have been okay, actually. I don't know so much about the chickens, but the dogs would have been okay. And I think the cats would have been, I don't know, I can't answer that. But yes, there's a lot that don't evacuate. And I can tell you that there were people that lost their pets in the LA fires, in the Knysna fires, that we will never know about. Even in our shack fires, we don't always know about. There is one now that's very touchy for me. There was a house fire now, and they left the pets. And that did... It made me the mourn. But in their defense, they weren't there at the time.
Yeah.
They were not there at the time. However, there's still another side to that story. You pick up the phone and you phone an MPO and you say, I've got a pet, help. No one did that. And that is a problem. But maybe they viewed the pet differently.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I know with the Knysna fires, I had to put a bushbuck down that had its back legs burnt almost off. So it was dragging its hindquarters. And I eventually ran out of ammo trying to run after this thing. And I had to put it down with a knife.
Terrible.
And with the stress of everything, you just burst out crying.
Of course.
And
you don't want to see suffering. And that is the reality. Is some manage to get out and others don't get out fast enough because of the perfect storm that was created.
Yeah, and they also don't understand, ash is hot, so it looks like ground and it burns them.
Exactly. We had, it's a beautiful story from the Knysna fires, but his name now is Merlot, but at the time, Merlot could not be evacuated. It was in, I think it was in Nekes or something like that, but the one part that did catch a light. And it was so quick. The fire hit there very, very quickly. And they couldn't get him out, but they went back the next day and they found him, which I appreciate. And they brought him. Somehow he landed up in Sedgefield. So he landed up with S.A.M. And what I did appreciate about these owners is they begged us and they said, we've now lost everything. Help us. We can't keep this dog. Help us. Needless to say that Merlot did get the treatment he needed, and he's on a wine farm in Cape Town, living a better life than all three of us sitting in this room.
Nice.
So there is positives to it too, and that's what we need to all just draw from is the positives. But in all of that, I think it boils down to be prepared and get your pets out.
Yeah.
So we don't have to deal with this.
Yeah. And your preparedness starts before you even get a pet.
And it's a few basic things. Leads by your front door, Know where your cat carriers are for your cats. Put your food in clip containers. I keep emphasizing this so that you can grab it and go. Some people can't afford the sachets and to keep them in their cupboards. They are expensive. So your kibbles, whatever you're feeding, just put it in a clip container so that if you need to, you are ready to go. Basic
Hamsters
things.
are nice because you know where to find them.
Exactly. And one more thing while we're talking about preparedness, and it's a lesson that I've now learned. People, catios are not bad things. I just want to tell you. I have seen catios. The cat that from the latest house fire is now in, she has actually officially now been adopted by this lady, but is in this catio, oh my word, it's got trees
What is
where
a
it
catio?
can climb.
It's an enclosed patio area specifically for cats that
For
can't go
cats.
outdoors.
So I am not against catios if they are done correctly. Your cats can have an outside life and an inside life. You know where your cat is at all times. You don't have to deal with it getting lost, run over,
Poisoned.
poisoned, whatever. And you yourself can sit in this catio and it can be a place of tranquil peace. Whatever. This cat now has heating pads, water fountains at its disposal, a couch where it can sleep on, or it can go outside. It's got beautiful tunnels that it can walk through. It's got trees it can climb. It's got everything it needs as a cat, but it is secure.
Except
And-
birds. It needs birds.
No, but you know, even that, you know, does it? You know, there's that's another debate for another day as well. Because a lot of people are saying, I mean, I did see a story on Carte Blanche, which I thought was very educational. I didn't know about it, but domestic cats are one of the biggest decimators of bird species. So-
Actually,
That's why bells are important.
yeah.
Exactly.
In Australia, it is illegal to own a cat without it having a collar with a bell on it. And something I heard the other day in New Zealand, domestic cats have made 12 indigenous species of birds go extinct.
Exactly. So I'm not against catios, to be honest with you. If they are correctly done, they can live in the life of luxury all their lives. And when there's a fire, you know where your cat is. My biggest fear is Rigby. I'm not even going to lie to you. My biggest fear is if I've got minutes and I can't find Rigby, I am going to have to leave him behind. And my cats are my children. I would never leave my house without my children. But what am I going to do if I'm not here? Who's going to take care of my other 2 cats and my 2 dogs? I've got to make that call eventually. So that is a mistake and that is on me. But through the last 10 years, I've learned that going forward, if I do get cats again, I'm actually currently looking at catios and stuff like that, where my cats can live a secure life.
Yes.
And if there is a fire, I can go with them straight away.
So have you done a rescue or escape manual, just basically saying that if it's not you or your husband, if somebody's coming in and they want your dogs, they're where your leads are, and it says, for this dog, tap the bowl 3 times and call its name, it will
Correct.
come. For that, and so each one has an instruction for...
Fortunately for me, I've got a family member that house sits my house. So they
Yes.
know my procedure. It's my son. So he knows exactly what to do should he need to evacuate. I do feel sorry because eventually my son's going to move back to Europe. He's been in Europe for 2 years, but he's going to go back again. I've got my brother-in-law. But who knows what's going to happen in life. And eventually I might just have to have a pet sitter or a house sitter. And you will be getting a manual. And it will cover everything in there, not only through evacuation, but my pets have to be fed this diet and this and blah, 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 blah. So yes, I do feel if you're going to take pet ownership seriously and properly, do it properly.
Yes.
Do it properly. It's not a manual as such. It's just like a letter with okay, it's a manual. It's a file. Let's be honest. Because in there, it's going to have everything. You know what I'm saying? Beast is allergic to grain, so please do not feed him this. Should there be an emergency, the leads are outside the front door. The blue one is for Beast. The black one is for Gaia. The red one, the cat carriers. Dog goes into a cat leather bag. And the 2 carriers are in the garage right there.
And do you have pictures of each animal next to its name so they know which one is which?
Damn, they should know that, otherwise they're not going to come and house at my house.
Well, you might find that the person walking in is a fireman because you happen to go to town.
True. I don't, and that is something maybe we should absolutely think about, you know. And I mean, just sitting here, you've got me thinking, oh boy, I just see another project for 2025 coming up for Sam, is maybe we should do a preparation manual that people can pick up, you know, and guide them a little bit. All right, you're giving me ideas. Let's put it that way.
Well, you know, obviously with our channel, it's about prepping mainly humans, but humans are attached to domestic animals, farm animals, and so doesn't matter what you're involved in. Prepping means whatever your circle is, you need to prep your mindset ahead of time, and also you need to prep the people, whether it's your family or your pets or your car. You know,
Absolutely.
You need to have enough preparation done so that if something untoward happens, you can jumpstart your car, or you can pull somebody out of a ditch, or you have a first aid kit to deal with a dog or a human. Or
and people, women, I know this is pet preparedness, but if there's one thing I can tell you, ladies, change your flipping tire. Do it yourself. Know how to do it.
Yes.
That is the most important part for me.
Well, the thing is, it's important to know to do it so that you can figure out if you are not strong enough to do it, what are the cheats to be able to do it. Okay, there are tools out there that help you. So, but the only way to figure out that you can't do it is to do it and then figure it out.
I'll never forget when I was repping my husband. I drove Transkei when we were in Natal. I had the South Coast, so I had Bizana, I had all the Transkei routes right up until Mthatha. My husband used to go crazy because I'd do it on my own. And he said to me, do you know how to change your tyre? I was like, no. He's like, and if you have a flat tyre in Mthatha, who's going to help you? Come. So, you know, it kind of made me realize already from back then, geez, we're really not prepared for a lot of the stuff that come out there.
Just everyday stuff, yeah.
Everyday stuff. And it really is simple stuff. We can do it, you know. And it brings me back to, for me, I view my pets, and I've said it already, my pets are my family. So I'm going to be prepared that should I need to evacuate in 30 seconds, I can do my 5 things I need to do. And, you know, I've been listening with the LA fires, and I'm going to sound like I'm so harsh here and I'm so horrible here, you know, and I hear celebs especially, oh, you know, my wife had this memory from 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you know, my husband and I have got pictures from 20 years ago. I don't care about the pictures. Memories will be there forever. They'll be in your mind. Your pets, you can replace that dog, but you cannot replace that personality.
Well, I was listening to Mel Gibson, and he was saying that they lost books that were written in the 1600s and stuff. And he says, you know, it all means nothing. His family got out safe.
Exactly. And that's it for me. You know, I'm not going to take stuff. I'm not going to take paintings. I'm not going to take anything. I'm literally going to take my family. And that includes my pets.
Well, if your prep is good, your marriage certificate, birth certificates, or copies that are in your bug out bag and digitized.
It's on the cloud.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's, again, your prep, so that you can focus on what you need to do now instead of worrying about it later.
And just quickly, while we're talking about marriage certificates, people, your pets' vaccination cards, please put them on the cloud. Put your pets' vaccination cards on the cloud. You never know if you need to immigrate, which is another kettle of fish we could speak about. Preparing for if you need to immigrate. No excuse for you to leave your animals in South Africa. No excuse for you to rehome your animals. If your vaccination cards are up to date and your documents are there, you can take your pet with you. So put that vaccination card is so important. It's your pet's ID card. Put it on the cloud.
But how will the pet talk to the language over there?
As long as it's got its mummy, it'll be fine.
Anyway, Kirsty, I know you've got another appointment today.
Can wait a few minutes, they won't die.
Thank you very much for your time. This has been awesome. We will put the contact details for Sam's on our Spotify as well as onto our Facebook page. If anybody wants to follow SAMS or donate to SAMS, they can just go to your Facebook page.
There's a Facebook page. So our Facebook page is Sedgefield Animal Matters. There's also the SAM Charity Shop Facebook page.
So,
I'm getting to that now too. We have a website where you can get banking details on there. But our most important donations is your stuff. Your stuff that you think is not worth it, that you're going to throw away. You know that saying, another man's rubbish, one man's rubbish is another man's wealth? We want it. Because you would be surprised, and we have a charity shop. It's in Swallow Drive. It's near the Circle, near Daily Grind. Go and drop off what you think may be rubbish. You would be surprised.
You mean human stuff?
Human stuff.
Okay.
Even your old dog beds. We will use them. Even your old cushions, drop them off. We run a kennel project that can go in as beds. Trust me, it all goes to good use.
And for people that aren't here on the garden route, there are animal charities all over South Africa,
Absolutely.
whether it is SPCA or I'm trying to think of some other ones now.
There's
Animal Anti-Cruelty.
Yeah, there's SPCA, there's Anti-Animal Cruelty, there's Tears, there's Bark, there's Odin. There's so many different animal organizations. Do yourself a favor. If you do, you don't even have to volunteer. But if you just want to go and have a look and get a feel, pop in and visit. I'm sure they would all be very welcoming. If they're not welcoming, they're hiding something.
And just with regard to your shop, I have personally bought quite a bit of stuff there for my preps. I've picked up second-hand gas stoves. I've picked up cooking equipment. And it's all stuff it's backup equipment for me. So I've got 2 or 3 gas stoves. One is in my bug-out bag. One is in my camping equipment. And this is stuff that a lot of it I've picked up from second-hand charity shops like the SAM's charity shop.
And it is affordable for everyone.
Yeah, the
It
prices
really
are
is.
really good.
The prices are good. And not only are you buying that gas stove for yourself, you've given back. You've paid towards a spay and a neuter or an emergency or dog food. Your money is going back. So I just have to say that our shop, it's my godsend. It's Sam's godsend. That is our main source of income. The community are donated out. They've got so many charities that they donate to. They are donated out. It's just so refreshing. You can drop off your old stuff, know that you're giving back. And at the same time, when people drop off their old stuff, they'll end up buying other stuff. So you give back twice.
And if somebody decides they really want to go buy 5 20 kg bags of whatever food, and can they come drop it off at the charity shop?
Absolutely. We would be truly grateful. We have a feeding program on a Tuesday, and that is normally from 11 to 1 o'clock. But I want to emphasize this feeding program, which is another debate for another day. But, we've taken a bit of flack recently because people are saying that we enable these people to own these dogs when they don't have fenced properties, etc., etc., etc. But we do not feed those animals unless they are spayed and neutered and unless they are vaccinated and you get the card from us. Only then do we feed that animal. So you have to do the full program.
Yeah. Talking about fencing and stuff, just to put a side thing, what are your feelings, or that's an open-ended thing.
Oh, here we go.
A friend of mine had a dog. It's one of the controversial breeds, a really loving young dog.
I think I know what breed you're talking about, and it's very misconceived, that breed.
It jumped the fence and supposedly attacked another dog and a thing. But I don't think anything, I think it was more fear than anything. But the people involved were understanding. But the community said he must get rid of the dog. But now the problem, what I'm coming up is like where I live as well. The highest I'm allowed to make my fence is 1.2 meters, okay, because of bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that makes it that, a bushbuck can jump my fence. A dog can jump my fence.
Correct.
I don't have a fence.
Dude, I can even jump your fence at 1.2 meters and look at my shape.
I could fall over it, yeah. But the point is, how are the bylaws negatively affecting people's ownership of dogs that, and then they're held liable for anything that goes badly.
Fortunately, you are quite correct in a lot of what you're saying there. But I can tell you that we have a under-resourced department that cannot enforce the bylaws. The reality is, So my heart breaks a little bit. Municipality, I don't mean to mention you here, but I need to give the reality of this whole thing, is that, law enforcement is a very under-resourced department. They're dealing with complaints from loud music to everything under the sun. Animals are at the bottom of that. If your dog has jumped the wall, and the people that have said, don't worry about it, it is okay, law enforcement are not even going to follow that up. They don't have the time to worry about a community that are all up in arms about it. And essentially, our bylaws do hinder it. Don't you wish you could make your fences higher? But at the same time, personally, I'm glad that we don't, because it shows that we live in a safe community. We don't have to worry about 2-meter fences like Gauteng.
Well, I wouldn't mind a tall fence. I don't need one.
Yes.
Okay, I actually like the bushbuck. That's why I don't have a fence.
Yes.
Because they walk around my area and the guinea fowl and everything else.
Yes.
I like it.
And again, people, I want to tell you, with bushbuck and guinea fowl, if you train your dogs correctly, we can all coexist.
The one thing I want the fence for is there are dogs, certain dogs that aren't fenced and aren't leashed, and they walk around, and you guess whose yard they decide to mess
Yours.
in. Yeah.
Yours.
And it's like, that's the biggest bugbear for me and people
for sure.
owning pets.
I do have to say that the bylaws, it's a very contentious issue. And I do see that in 2025, there will be changes in the bylaw. I know that there is a process at the moment that is taking place. People say, I couldn't be bothered to listen to those council meetings. I personally don't blame them. They're hours and hours and hours. I understand that. But if there is a topic and it's going to council, you can always just listen in for that topic, And you must remember that amendment of bylaws will go to public comment, which will be in the newspaper. And that is when you have a right to comment. And
what is a newspaper?
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be on websites. It will be, you know what I'm saying. And please, I urge people, I know this is preparedness and animals, etc. But I urge people that, especially with the animal bylaws, there is amendments coming up. I know this. I've got good knowledge of this. When it comes for public comment, even if it's positive. For instance, maybe they're going to say spaying and neutering becomes compulsory. Comment if you pro that and say yes, because the more positive comments you get, the better for the amendment of the bylaws. And whilst those bylaws are there, you must please comment and say, this 1.2 meter rule, for me, based on this, I would like to do this. You might be surprised.
Okay.
And it goes in writing.
I love the fact that certain animals are not classed as pets. Like they have a problem with farm animals being pets.
Agriculture, yeah.
And it's like, why? Exactly. Oh, but the rooster crows at 4 a.m. Yeah, but your dog barks all through the night. So
Exactly.
You're welcome
or
to
somebody's
take the
cow
rooster
walks on the
outside.
end too.
Yeah, so Sam gets a lot of complaints about the chickens, I must just tell you. It's like I can't anymore. But yes, we could be here for hours. Pets has so much, you could debate things for hours and hours and hours.
But yes, Kirsty, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much.
My pleasure.
And like I said earlier, we will put all your links on our
Please
socials.
do, and thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. No, it's an absolute pleasure.
Next time I'll bring my vet nurse Jean with. Then you will be here for hours.
Awesome.
That Heather you were talking about,
Yes,
is she
Heather.
based in Sedgefield?
She's not based in Sedgefield. She's based in Knysna,
Okay.
but she would always base herself in Sedgefield if she had enough clientele.
Okay.
But a lot of people from Sedgefield do go through to it. Dogs Day Out. I will look for her contact details, and Brett, you can just post it.
Cool.
But
Thank
she's
you.
excellent. And yes, I think there's your solution, is definitely, guys, going forward, when you get your puppies, training. That is your most fundamental part of preparation for evacuation, is get your dogs trained. It might cost you a little bit, but I think saving lives is priceless.
Definitely.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Kirsty.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers. Have a good day.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Off-Grid Survival. For more info and updates, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Off-Grid Survival ZA. That's it for now. We will see you next time. And always remember, be prepared. Off-Grid Survival is a member of the South African Podcasters Guild. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the speakers and may not reflect OGS Media or the Guild's views. We aim for accuracy but cannot guarantee it. Please verify information independently. Consult professionals before acting on any advice given during these episodes. By listening, you acknowledge that we are not responsible for any damages resulting from reliance on our content. All content is provided without warranty.